Rob from Fullon's on the show today, and we're going to figure out a feeding regimen. Hey there, Bob from Oregon's Constant Gardener. Welcome to the OCGFAM show to you, my YouTube buddies. What's going on? Let me know in the comments. Let's talk about it. Today, we're starting a series. Let me tell you what I have in mind. So, if you're just growing one plant and you just want to not have to worry about it too much, grab you a bag of One Shot and water the thing. You're going to be fine. If you got 100 plants, you got issues that we can't deal with probably because you're going to need spreadsheets and computers and lots of people. That's not the thing we're doing here. What we're doing here is if you're growing 4 plants, maybe 6 plants, and you're looking for the absolute max out of those plants as far as yield, aroma, the taste, the flavor of it, all those factors that you're trying to do the best you can with that. That's what we're trying to figure out, is what's a methodology for doing that. So what I'm doing is, obviously a lot of us, probably most of us, are using Nectar. That's what we're going to kind of focus on, is Nectar for the gods. But how you incorporate that with SLF100, Photo Plus, all these different things, how that all fits together. So what the first thing we're going to do is I'm going to interview all these guys, and we're going to ask them how you use their product along with other products and get kind of a baseline for that. Then we're going to build a whole everything comprehensive feeding chart. Then we're going to go through how that all works. Then we're going to work on how you modulate those things. So, you know, we'll have a baseline of use this much of this much of this much of this, use this on this day, use this on that day, kind of feeding schedule for all this stuff, how it all fits together, so you can build what works for you as far as how many different things, which ones of the Nectar products you're going to use, which ones of you're going to use some SLF or whatever. Put that all together. Sorry for the long-winded description, but I wanted to get it straight here at the first episode of exactly what we're doing. Is we're trying to make all this stuff work together in some sort of system, so we're not just willy-nilly throwing stuff around. Then we're going to talk about how to modulate that to get the results you're looking for as far as the flavor, the aroma, the aesthetic beauty of the crop, and the yield. Big time with the yield. So that's what we're doing. Today, the first episode we're going to do, we're going to talk to Rob Christensen from Fullon. This stuff. And see how we use that. Then tomorrow we're going to talk to Microbe Life, and then we're going to move on through all the rest of these ones. So watch this with Rob, and then I'll talk to you after. Hey there, we're here with Rob Christensen from Fullon. Rob, what's going on?
Hey, Bob, glad to be here with you, my friend. Thank you.
Where are you at? I see some, I think I see some palm trees in the distance there.
Yeah, I'm at my remote office, Santa Barbara, down by the East Beach. I'm just getting ready to head down to the valley right now.
Oh, very cool. All right. Well, I wanted to talk to you. I'm talking to the whole, I guess we call us the Nectar fam. What I'm trying to put together is, well, let's just, the idea being that if you're going to grow one plant and you don't want to be hassled with this, you can just throw some One Shot on there. Maybe use a little Fullon, maybe use a little, Microlife, whatever. You might want to do that. Or if you're growing 100 plants, there's efficiencies where you got a spreadsheet to figure out what you're doing. And I really don't want to talk about those extremes. I want to talk about in the middle that I think the people that we have are our guys that with the show here are growing 4 or 6 plants, and as part of maybe it's their hobby or maybe it's something they're really serious about, but they're trying to grow the absolute best garden they can under those constraints of just a few plants. So they're looking for a lot of yield per plant. They're looking for the flavors, the aroma, taste, all that stuff in the maximum that they can do. They're wanting to push. And so when you're using Nectar and Fullon and all these different things, you start to get where you've got a lot of different bottles you're using, a lot of different products you're using, and it can get confusing when and how to use all those because things start overlapping and getting conflicted. And so what I want to do is kind of build a feeding schedule of everything, a comprehensive feeding schedule. And so what I wanted to do first is just talk to you and the Microbe Life and the Fullon, the Blacksmith, just talk to everyone, have a little primary interview, get some direction as to where we're going with this. So let me ask you that. So let's just say that we're running kind of a Greek Nectar line, maybe a few extra nutrients added to that for flavors and that sort of thing. And we're doing Fullon as part of that. And we want to push that Fullon to express the maximum amount that we can from it. How would that look in a feeding regimen?
If Fullon is extremely variable in terms of its usage. But for a guy with 4 to 6 plants, if he really wants to push it, he could go with Fullon in his watering schedule, add it to the water 3 times a week.
Okay.
You can also add it to the nutrients, but we recommend 1 time a week at a minimum, twice a week. More generally, but if you can push it 3 times a week. The one caveat that I always want to make sure people are aware of, Fullon will greatly increase the uptake and the conversion of all the nutrients in the root zone, which means that as you push that plant harder with Fullon, you may very well have to go up on your base nutrients above the 100% where you were. It just depends on the particular environment. I was talking with a friend last night who grows, and he was saying that since he put in new lighting, his plants are needing a lot more, and they're also growing like crazy. So there's a lot in the environment, but the thing specifically with Fullon is you really have to watch your base nudes and make sure that you've got enough in there to keep up with that plant growth. And so not just enough to, you know what I mean? I'm running 100% and I'm adding Fullon. If you're adding Fullon 2 to 3 times a week, be very cautious about how, you know what I mean? How much your base is adding. If you start to see deficiencies, the plant slows down the growth, that sort of thing.
And you're talking about using Nectar or something of that nature, a more natural thing. If you're using cutting edge, maybe some heavy 16 or something more of a salt-based nutrient, you actually can use too much of the nutrient. Am I correct on that?
You know, Bob, you're totally right, but it's so nutrient line specific, if you will. It's some. I've got a friend that runs a lot of the powdered NPKs, and basically he's over 100% with Fullon.
Really? Okay. So even in almost any nutrient line.
What's that? Yeah, it's base nutrients.
So I guess you'd want to like maybe back off a little at the start, but with the thought that you don't want to go too far, but that you may very well be pushing beyond your previous limits on your nutrients.
I would say with synthetics, that's more of a ice. You know what I mean? That's more not the case. So generally, people, depending on the line, depending on what they've got in the reservoir or in the feeding regimen, they need to cut back at least 50 on the first root application. But after that, they may stay at 50. They may go to 60. It's just so environmental, genetic dependent.
Sure.
But definitely, I would say there's a good chance that guys running salts will be able to see a reduction and maintain it in a lot of cases.
Okay. So one question: if I went daily with this and went to 10 mils or 100 mils or a gallon a day. I mean, there's obviously some point where you see diminishing returns, but is the 1, 2, 3 times a week, are you going to see a significant difference if you went to 6, 7 times a week, or would that be pointless?
One caveat with this, Bob, there's a lot of bigger commercial growers that are running the waste basically, and so they would add Fullon into the reservoir, and that plant would be fed every day with Fullon, along with all the other nutrients. That being said, we recommend maybe 2 ml a gallon in a situation like that. But as far as other growers pushing it, 6, 7 days a week hard, at some point you're going to hit, diminishing returns.
I gotcha.
And so, if you can, you can push it up to 12 ml a gallon, especially in the soil, because it really does help the beneficials and colonies and things like that. So it's a very good holistic formula for soil, whatever you're going into. But basically, we 3 times a week, anywhere from 6 to 10, 12 ml a gallon. That's pushing it pretty hard. And with that, again, at that kind of a rate, you really got to monitor the plants and make sure they're not going to require more base to keep up with the growth rates.
So would you say 1 to 2 times a week, 2 to 4 mils is a reasonable, that'll work for almost every situation? And if I wanted to push, I'd be like 2 times a week, 6 mils as a baseline, and go up or down from there based on the results I'm seeing.
Yeah, I would say that the first regimen you mentioned would be kind of a starting point.
Right.
They want to go 2 to 4 once to twice a week. Start looking for results in the plants. Also, consider doing a foliar once a week with Fullon at up to 10 ml a gallon. But I would say more of a midpoint, Bob, would be somewhere between 6 to 8 ml a gallon, once to twice, even 3 times a week. Like, I get a lot of questions, can I add it to my nutrients, to my tea, or can I add it to water? The answer is all of the above. You can mix it in with your nutrients. You can mix it in at the very end of a brew cycle for teas, and it works great with, you know, weekly, daily, whatever watering regimens if people are hand watering.
Okay, so 2 times 2 to 4 is a kind of a minimal. That's what you would do, and then
that's what I'd recommend starting with, especially in a synthetic-based environment, predominantly synthetic-based. I would definitely say start around 2 to 4, and then once to twice a week and work yourself up. With being salts, a 50% nutrient reduction as well.
Okay, and so 2 to 3 times a week, 6 to 8 milliliters is per gallon is a good pushing hard starting point, but you may go up or down from there based on what you're seeing.
Exactly.
And dropping to 50% on the nutrients on synthetics, dropping a little on the more natural type bone meal, that sort of thing from the start, but with the eye toward going back to full or even past full to get the maximum use out of it.
Yeah, the folks that are really pushing it are probably going to need to go above previous levels on base to keep up with the plant growth.
And then foliar.
Yes.
How much? How often? Assuming pushing hard on the root drench.
Yeah, to tell you the truth, we see a great synergy between the foliar and root feeding. It just really seems to get that plant, whatever, in full on growing mode. But we would recommend anywhere from 4 to 10 ml a gallon, at least like once a week is sufficient. But we continue to hear better feedback around the 10 ml a gallon.
Okay. Now, probably the last thing, I mean, who knows what we'll talk about here, but the last thing I really wanted to make a point of with this is a lot of times what we're going to be doing is we're going to be using Nectar. We're going to be doing a feed tea, feed flush. So we've got something in our bucket other than just water every single day of the week. In that situation, is it okay to mix the Fullon with those things? If so, which things maybe not? And how would you handle that situation?
It's definitely okay to mix with the full Nectar family.
Okay.
And there's going to be absolutely no issues with that. It would also, if you're doing tea, like you're doing 2 teas a week, you could also put whatever 4 to 12 ml a gallon in the tea, right at the very end of the brew cycle. So that way you're adding Fullon twice a week through your tea regimen.
Okay, so I'm assuming that in that regard, we're going to be maybe using some microbe life, maybe some cultured, and maybe some blacksmith stuff's going to be going in with there as well, possibly. With those sorts of things, let's say I'm doing a cultured and a microbe life Photo Plus in my tea. I do my tea, my cultured tea. If I'm just doing an instant tea, I'm doing my tea. At the end of that, I'm going to drop in some microbe life and then drop in some Fullon.
Yes.
Okay.
Exactly. Right at the very end.
Right at the very end.
Before it's applied.
At the plants. And people a lot of times ask this, all this stuff, you put this in the bucket here, you want to use it all that time. You don't want to be saving this for later.
No. And that's why we say put Fullon in at the very end. Because it's an organic catalyst.
Sure.
So it's going to get a lot of things going. Once it's in the soil, then it's a great food source and to help build colonies for all the beneficials that you're adding through the teas.
Okay. I think that covers the basis of it. I'd like to, we'll chat longer and more about this. But what I'm going to do now is I'm going to talk to everybody else. You're the first one, and then we'll get a plan, and then from there maybe we'll talk to you a little more to refine that plan. And then I'm hoping next step after that is that we're making a baseline here. Is that we go beyond the baseline to be what kind of results we want to see, and if we don't see those or do see those, how we back off or push forward with higher rates. But that's a conversation for another day.
Exactly, my friend.
Cool. All right, well, thanks for being on the show.
Always love being here, Bob. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Very cool. Okay, I think that was good. We got Fullon dialed in. So next thing we're going to do tomorrow is get Carl on the show, and we're going to talk about microbe life, and then go through the rest of these, get that whole baseline of how everything works with other stuff together, and then move on from there. That's the show for today. I love you, and I'll see you tomorrow. For more information about anything on today's show, go to our website, OCGFAM.com. And if you buy anything while you're there, use the code OCGFAMSHOW. It's going to save you 20%, and it's a lot of fun. The OCG Fam Show, it's pretty good. It happens every day. It's the OCG Fam Show. See you tomorrow. Carl's going to be here.